Hello, friends. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is a place for people who are deconstructing or questioning their faith. Um, I was live on Tuesday, and I had some technical difficulties, so cross your fingers that that doesn't happen today. But I thought I would come back and hang out in case, yeah, I missed anybody on Tuesday. So yeah, I actually have Checkers here today. So hopefully she makes an appearance in a little bit. Hi, John. Welcome. Bailey, hello. Hi, Spark. Thank you. Yes, fingers crossed. I know. I hope it, I've never figured out what the problem was last time. So, what faith are you leaving? So, I used to be a Protestant Christian, and now I am no longer. Hi, Checkers. Do you guys want to see Checkers? There she is. Hi, sweetie. Yeah, are you a sweet little bunny? Yes, you are. Oh, what a good little loaf. Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate it. Are you a believer of any faith, John? Or are you an atheist? Dr. Joe, hi. Hello, Mana. Yeah, I know it's Checkers is so soft. I wish you all could pet her. Oh, Celtic pagan. I don't really know much about that, to be honest. Hi, Demith. Hey, John. Well, I guess it's time. It's gonna be the people in the chat. You can chat if you follow, if you're a follower. I'm doing fine, thanks. Oh, hi, little bunny. So if you're, I mean, probably you all know this already, but since I'm relatively new to YouTube, when it says subscriber only, subscriber just means follow. It doesn't mean that you have to pay for anything. So the chat is followers only. Yeah, sometimes we get some odd comments. What's my dream for what, Ahmad? Ekta, hello. Indeed, Dr. Joe, it does. Yes, that is a great way to put that. It minimizes the alarming comments. Yes, very much. Oh, look at your little feet. Hi, Max. Look at those little tiny feet. I love her little feet. They're so cute. Yay, welcome back. Hi, Jim. Fussy feet. I know they're so little. Well, for anyone who's new, hey, I'm Sarah, and This is a place for people who are deconstructing or questioning their faith. Hi, Success. A asked, how's life been since leaving? So I stopped believing in 2009. So a lot of life has happened since then. A lot of good things and some bad things, but I would say that I think overall my mental health is better. I think I experience more peace. Yeah. What would you do if there were no rules? Like no laws? Honestly, I don't really want to break a lot of them. I don't know. I gotta be honest, like just by my nature, I'm pretty much a rule follower. Hi, Em. Good to see you. John says everyone should question their faith regularly to remind themselves why they have it. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yes, that is a rabbit. This is my bunny Checkers. You want to say hi? Oh, you need some more cuddles? Okay. That's a good bunny. Yes, you are. It's a good bunny. It's Checkers the bunny. A naturalist. What's a naturalist? Yeah, Jim says there already are no rules. I mean, do you mean that in like a there is no spoon kind of way? Yeah, I believe you, Spark. I think you and I are similar in that way. It's funny, I watch a lot of like cult documentaries, and the only like true crime I like is like scams. And it always blows my mind how people are able to just like break rules and lie to people. Like it literally boggles my mind. Philip, that's a complicated question. I mean, the short answer is, capitalism and healthcare don't mix very well. Benji asked, "Do you believe that Jesus was a real person?" I think it's reasonable that he could have been. I don't think there is reason to believe that he was quoted accurately in the Bible, but he could have been a real person. Erickson, not enough to have an educated opinion on it. Which religion? I was a Protestant Christian. Oh, well, that's good to know, actually. I am not a Christian any longer, no. I consider myself an agnostic atheist now. Laylee says, finding peace without God tells me you know there's a God. It should indicate to you the opposite. I don't believe in God, but this is for um, people who are deconstructing their faith or maybe used to believe in God and now they don't. Well, welcome, David. What are the little crown things? It's something that YouTube does, I think, to like, it gives like a little crown to the people who comment the most, I think, or like who interact the most. I don't know. I don't control it. How do you see the world as an agnostic atheist? It's kind of a broad question. Can, like, what aspect of the world, or I don't know, maybe can you be a little more specific? Kel, hello. Oh, Marianne, thanks for coming back. Erickson asks, is there a story behind your choice of being agnostic and atheist? It's actually not a choice. I didn't choose to think this way. You know, I actually wanted to keep believing, but this is just where I landed. Pix asks, why don't you believe in God? I actually have an FAQ playlist on my page, and I have like a 5-minute video on there somewhere that explains, you know, why I don't believe in God any longer. Thanks, Dr. Joe. Wider Sky says, I was talking to my therapist and I told her I'm so much happier as an atheist because I have to rely on me. There's no deity coming to save me. I have to save myself. Yeah, I found that to be both a terrifying and empowering realization, you know, that yeah, things, it's up to you. Like, it's up to you to make your life what you want it to be. It's up to you to save yourself. But it's also up to you to, you can make your life what you want it to be. And you can figure out what your core values are and live your life according to those core values. So it's, yeah, it's terrifying, but also exciting. So I really relate to that. Why couldn't you keep believing? Is what you believe not your own choice? It really isn't. You have lots of choices that are sort of around belief. Like, you can choose what you research. You can choose what you spend your time doing. You can choose who you spend time with, you know, so there's a lot of choices that you do have. But at the end of the day, whether you are convinced something is true, that's not something you can consciously choose. You know, like if I were to say to you, think of something that you know is false, whatever it is, that Santa Claus is real, right? You know that's false. Can you right now just choose to genuinely, truly be convinced that it's true? It's not something we have conscious control over. Sorry, John. Hi, Minute. A says, I don't know. It could refer to any aspect of your life, from your purpose, finding meaning. Is it lonely? I find a lot of meaning and joy and purpose in connection, in connecting to other people, in knowing people and in being known. And so I how else to answer that? I see the world. Um, I see us just being here. I don't think that we are part of some greater purpose. Um, but that also can be exciting in a way. You know, it's up to you to make your life what you want it to be. You believe in science only. I don't believe in anything supernatural, if that's what you mean. Michael, I have not viewed all the roads built, but I understand how roads are built. Is that what you're asking? Yeah, no problem, Pix. Would you say science is God? No. David says, have you mentioned the many resources for those deconstructing? Recovering from religion is awesome. Yeah, if anyone needs more community support, the organization called Recovering from Religion is a great resource. Are humans not natural? I think humans are natural. It's funny. I get asked, why do your teeth look so white all the time? It's the ring light. They're not actually this white. It's literally an illusion from like the, like you can even see how like my hand changes color as it gets closer. So they're not really this white. Wider Sky, did you ever listen to Christian music? And if so, are you as disgusted as me that so many of the artists are not what they claim to be? I mean, I find the fact that like Michael Tate was assaulting people to be really awful. You know, I don't have ill will to a Christian artist who over the course of time deconstructs and then ends up feeling differently. But yeah, assaulting people, always bad. That's unequivocally bad. Hmm. Jake says, it feels to me that if there really is a God, he doesn't care about us at all. Yeah. How do we know roads didn't evolve through nature and we stole the idea? Because we know how roads are made. Roads don't reproduce. Like, I don't. Are you trying to say that it's a pretty convoluted metaphor? Do rocks reproduce? Nope. A says people are broken. Well, people are human. But that being said, there are many humans who never assault anyone their entire lives, you know? So there, I think this idea, and I don't know what your religion is, but just coming from like a more evangelical background, I think the idea that all humans are just bad and broken and sinful, I think both unfairly condemns people and in the same breath allows really terrible things to be swept under the rug. Because, well, yeah, people are broken. Like, well, no, I mean, yeah, I have made mistakes and made poor choices, and I have never done that. You know, like I think it's important to distinguish those things. Well, hey, Jaded. Glad you're here. So yeah, I don't expect perfection from people. I do expect people to not assault other people. Pix says, everything eventually needs a cause. So if that's true, that would apply to God as well. Mikkel, again, I don't know where you're going with this. I mean, you're describing erosion. Rocks erode. Pick says, what I mean is something has to have existed eternally that started creation. Well, why is there something that existed eternally? Why is there something instead of nothing? How did that come about? And if the answer is I don't know, I think that's totally reasonable. But that's just how I feel about the universe, you know? I don't know why there is something rather than nothing, but I think you get the same answers when you ask that about God or about like space and time and matter. Jim, that song's going to be in my head now. For anyone asking why I no longer believe, I have an FAQ playlist on my page, and I think one of the videos is titled like why I don't believe anymore. Ekta says, if I were a Christian, I would be abjectly horrified at the methods of proselytization I'm looking at here. Hi, Daksh. Flaming Phoenix, it didn't actually become that prevalent that quickly. And when it did, it was spread also through the government. So once your empire accepts your religion, it's going to spread real fast. Mikkel, you're allowed to ask questions. You've been asking questions this entire time. You should just know this isn't a debate space to, preach. Thanks, Deandra. Wider Sky says, it's really strange to me how people come in here preaching as if they can somehow change our mind. I mean, that's what you're told you have to do. Andrea says, you mentioned it bothers you that are inherently sinful and evil. My question is, do you think people are more good than evil? I think the majority of people experience empathy and want to be good. Now, we may not be very effective at it, but I think it's pretty rare that you find someone who truly enjoys hurting people. That's pretty rare. Sorry. Ryan said he only subscribed because he thinks I'm pretty, but he's going to unsubscribe because I don't follow Christ. Are you being Christ-like right now by doing that? Hi, Justin. Justin says people are good until religion poisons their mind. Well, I mean, that's one way to look at it. Mikkel, I know what you're doing when you're asking if roads naturally evolved. Like, why? Go ahead and just get to the point. Is you don't think evolution's true? Like, is that what you're trying to communicate? Thanks, Wider. Hi, Ronan. Well, yeah, Jake, I think to some people being right is more important than being kind. Sergio, Dr. Joe might be a good resource for you. She's one of the moderators in here. I actually have not read the Quran, no. How do you understand the witness of the apostles? Do you have firsthand witness accounts from the apostles? Yeah, Chris, I agree with you. I don't know what happens after we die either. Oh, well, thanks for watching those, JS. The Gospels. Okay. Afnan, if you want to understand why I do this, I actually get asked that a lot, so I made a video, and that is on my FAQ playlist if you're actually interested in the answer to your question. How do you believe the world came to be? So, I mean, Earth is formed in the same way that all the planets are formed. There's excess debris around a star that collects together because mass is attracted to mass. And over time, its own gravitational pull is so strong that you have a spherical shape, and eventually it becomes a planet. No, rocks don't evolve like that. They can change due to environmental pressures, but in order to evolve, you have to reproduce. Also, Checkers is being super cute right now. I love when she's all lounged out like that. You feeling nice and chill, Chex? And you say the world coming to be doesn't take an intelligent mind? No. Do you believe life came from non-life? So when you phrase it that way, I think it gives the illusion that life and non-life are so disparate from each other. But really, trying to like define what counts as something being alive versus not alive is not actually that big of a jump. So I actually don't think it's like that wild of an idea. They have contemporary testimony on the lives of the apostles. Can you be more specific? Jim says life and non-life are not related. Jim, what do you think life is made of? I mean, you're still made of the same, combination of atoms and then, cells. Is protein alive? Are protons alive? Is morality relative? It's certainly subjective, if that's what you're asking. For people asking why I no longer believe, I have an FAQ playlist on my page, and there's a video that like takes you through that whole backstory. What about consciousness? What is it composed of? Electrical signals sent from neuron to neuron. Wow, thank you, Park. I had no idea, and now I do, and my whole life has changed. Dayton says, you don't believe morality is objective, so whether something is bad is completely relative. It's not completely relative. I think whether or not something is bad depends on if it causes harm. And we can measure harm, and so in that sense, it can be objective. But tell me, what is an action that is always wrong? And we can go from there. Allie says killing. Well, God in the Bible does that, and he commands his followers to do that. And unfortunately, even like assault, God either says it's okay or tells his, what's the word I'm looking for? His army to go and take the virgins for yourself. So certainly the God of the Bible doesn't believe in those same objective morals. Pick says, when does he say to kill? In the Old Testament, have you read through like Joshua and Judges, even like some in Deuteronomy? Like, have you gone through all those like old battles? Samuel, there's definitely some in Samuel. Hi, Cooper. Well, I'm glad you're here. Dayton, I agree it's objectively bad, or I think it's always bad. It's just the God of the Bible doesn't. So if you're trying to get your morals from the God of the Bible, you can't say that that's where you got them. Cameron, I don't. Well, welcome, Samuel. Pick says, oh, I see where you went wrong. In the Bible, it says not to wield the sword in vain, which means if you fight for a reason, it's okay. Well, so when God says, I want you to go into this land and kill everyone, man, woman, child, baby, animal, that's all morally good? Olaf, I think if you are killing innocent civilians in a war, I don't think that argument holds true. Dayton, Dayton, you're thinking when I say subjective, it means I have no moral code. It's subjective because it's dependent on our brains to create it. So, if our brains are creating our moral code, I can't say it's objective because it's not the same thing as like gravity, right? I don't have to, my brain doesn't have to work in order for gravity to be there. Whereas morality is a human construct. But, I can certainly make the argument that I am a human who can use logic and I have empathy and I know what harm feels like and I don't want to cause other people harm. So the only thing I could try to convince you of is whether or not you're causing harm. And if you say, I don't care that I'm causing harm, I'm fine with hurting people, well, yeah, then I have nothing I can say to you. How can you believe in morality if we're just motivated by biological needs? Morality isn't something that you believe in. I mean, it's a byproduct of how your brain works. Cameron, okay, I'm not casting judgment on someone else's perception of reality. Again, Olaf, you don't have a standard you can point to either. The idea that you're getting your moral code from the Bible, it's also just subject to what God likes and what God wants. And no matter what God does, no matter how much harm God causes, you have to say it's good. And if that's the case, the word good is meaningless. What harm has God caused? Have you read the Old Testament? All right, I think we need a little checkers break. Maybe in a cutie pie. Yeah, that's a good bunny. Good girl. Joe says, never seeing my loved ones again scares me. I think, something that is really difficult for a lot of us when we stop believing is letting go of that idea of heaven. That was probably what took me the longest to kind of work through. Yeah, the idea of not seeing people again does suck. It is really hard. I think Dayton, I would love to know, are you a man or a woman? But I do take comfort in the fact that I don't think anyone is suffering for eternity either. So that is at least helpful to me. I thought so. So yeah, Olaf, I don't know for sure what happens. My best guess is nothing, that we just cease existing. What are you living for, and what is the proof that what you're living for has meaning? Well, meaning is internal. Like, meaning is something you create. You don't need proof of meaning because that's subjective to you. So I find meaning in connection, in love, in being able to grow and learn. And those things are really meaningful to me. It's not anything I have to prove, though. That's just what I find meaningful. The Deaf Sauce says, when the Bible says to kill everyone, that's hyperbole. Justin, are you still in the chat? Oh my God. Dayton, tell you what. On my page, there's 8 episodes of a Bible study that Deconstruction Zone and I are doing. Watch those, and then you let me know if you think I still need to be educated by you. Justin, I had a question. Where did it go? Oh, shoot. Now I don't remember what I was going to ask you. Oh, someone said that like when God commanded his armies to kill all the men, women, and children, that was just hyperbole. That was just metaphor. Do we have any reason to think that it was a metaphor? Well, thank you so much, Canby. I really appreciate that. Canby with the super chat. Can Best says, much respect for your kind approach. There is room for gentle strength. What a lovely thing to say. Thank you. Checkers Cam, sure. Happy to oblige. There is Checkers. Being very sweet tonight. We have sweet and not sassy Checkers. Beer Guns, 1 Samuel 15. Money, I don't totally keep up with the chat. Sometimes I'll like scroll back up to try to find the comments that I missed, but I don't. There are lots that I miss. Cameron, you're having a really tough time with this subjectivity. Cameron says, so if my meaning for living is to murder you, you can't say it's objectively wrong. Correct. I can tell you it would cause me harm, and I don't want you to do it. And I can tell you that within our society, we have all agreed that that is wrong. And if you do that, you're going to go to jail. But this objectively wrong, it's objective in as much as it's against the law. I mean, it's objective in that it objectively causes harm. But is it objective in that it exists outside of a mind like gravity? No. Dayton, it doesn't matter if it's only in the Old Testament. It's the same God. Would it be reasonable to believe the resurrection if it was naturalistic? Do you mean if people regularly came back from the dead? Minutemen, thank you so much. Minutemen with the super chat. Says, in these dark times, let us praise Doug, his holy consort, his acolytes, Sarah and Justin. Special love for Ruby, Checkers, and Meatballs. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I would show you Ruby. I think she put herself to bed, though. Shishi, there's no H. Frank Turek used one of my clips? Me or Justin? You can put it in the chat link. I don't think Lazarus symptom is when someone is like dead for 3 days. Is that what you're referring to? Now that you're an ex-Christian, how do you think and feel about concepts like Lucifer or Satan? Does it still spook you out? I do not feel like scared or spooked or worried about the idea of a devil or Satan or demons. And when I was a Christian, I did believe in those things. I did think that there were demons. I did think that Satan was real. But when I stopped believing in God, I stopped believing that those things were real as well. Oh, well, thanks, Money. I'm curious if you believe God exists or believe in any gods. I don't believe in a God. I call myself an agnostic atheist though, because I don't think I can ever know for sure. So I don't believe in God, but you know, I'm open to being wrong. No, Def Sauce, we don't. You're just projecting that onto people. What books or movies led you to leave the church? Actually, none, which I think is kind of weird, maybe. But so I stopped believing back in 2009. And so there was very little media to consume, you know. Social media didn't even like really exist back then. You know, there was Facebook, but that was kind of it. Um, and so I just deconstructed kind of in a vacuum, in a sense. Jairus, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. Jairus says, what brought you out of religion? I also have questions about it and never been convinced it's true. A lot of things never made sense to me. Sure, so I'll give you the really short version, and then the longer version is one of my videos on my FAQ playlist. But the short version is that I believed in hell, that if you did not accept Jesus into your heart, you were going to go to hell. And I had someone close to me who had not done that. And you know, I always had faith that like, no, God's going to come through. It's going to happen. I just have to keep praying. And then he passed away, to my knowledge, you know, never having accepted Jesus. And that was the first time that I like allowed myself to ask some hard questions of like, wait a minute, you know, this really good, kind person is now gonna have to like spend eternity in hell, like infinite punishment. It just didn't, I finally like looked at it differently. And that was just kind of the starting off point for me. It was about a year-ish long process after that of questioning and trying to find answers. And so it took a long time. Link says, if God knows our beginning, middle, and end results, could this mean life is preordained? It would mean that, yes. I mean, particularly if you believe that God designs you, right? It would be maybe one thing if you like emerged from a random process and then God just knew how it was going to turn out. But if you think that God designed you, that he, you know, knit you together in your mother's womb, then he's designing you knowing how it's going to turn out. And so I think that by definition makes it all preordained. So, Michael, I would still have the same opinion about hell, even if they had accepted Jesus, because it wouldn't change the fact that infinite punishment is terrible and cruel and unnecessary. Tom says, I think the universe is way too perfect to not be designed. Why do you think the universe is perfect? Yeah, it's frustrating to me too, Dr. Joe. So, yeah, eternal conscious torment is not something that all Christians agree on. There are some Christians who believe it vociferously and some who are annihilationists. So, I agree that it is not clear. Nathaniel, I think it would be great if you would just listen. BLT, what you're describing is a human emotional experience, but I don't have any reason to believe that that is spiritual. Hazy says annihilationism is not mentioned in the Bible. I think, there's a lot of mention of like, perish, like you will perish, or be annihilated or not annihilated. Mentions of basically death rather than existing in torment. Justin says it is in Revelation 21. And I think, doesn't Matthew 25 at the end make a reference to like eternal punishment? What is an agnostic atheist? It's someone who doesn't believe in God and doesn't think we can know for sure. Where do you think consciousness comes from? From your brain. Hey, John Paul, good to see you. Do you believe that if God is the creator, he has the authority to judge evil taking place within his creation? When you say judge, do you mean determine if it's evil, or do you mean punish? Do you prescribe to the Big Bang model, or do you have another theory? I mean, I think we know the Big Bang happened. I think what's much less understood is what happened before the Big Bang. Nick says, it doesn't matter how much good we've done because we all have sinned. A murderer will go to jail no matter how many good things they've done. Sure, but if you don't ever murder someone, you don't ever get that punishment, right? Alrighty, friends, it is about to be my bedtime. If you haven't seen, Justin and I dropped a new episode today. So that are 2 new episodes this week. We're trying to catch up from the hiatus we took. And so we have 2 new episodes on our ex-evangelical Bible study. Also, look at Checkers. She's so smooshy. Are you looking smooshy? Aww. So I will, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out and for the conversation. And I am frequently on TikTok. So if you use TikTok, you can contact me over there. That's where I am more likely to like get messages. And I'm live on there most evenings. So thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I will see you soon.